What are the 3 stages? Yes, 3 stages of land development. We're going to cover that in this video. This is exciting. Land development can be complex only because you don't know how it works. Once you learn how this works, which I'm going to cover in this video, you're going to realize this is probably the easiest facet of any type of real estate investing. And we're going to cover that in this video. So have you ever been driving down the road and saw a piece of property that had been sitting there for years? Then all of a sudden there's a fence around it. Then all of a sudden there's stakes with little orange flags on the end of it. And then all of a sudden there's a big pile of construction equipment there. And then boom, 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 and then there's a building. Or have you ever lived somewhere, then not lived there, then come back and went, oh my gosh, look at the development. That just happened to me last night. I was driving up north and I looked at this whole area and I went, this was not here 2 years ago. And he said, this stuff just sprang up overnight. But it kind of doesn't. So in this video, I'm going to show you the stages of land development and how you can get in the middle of it. And it's literally negotiating and putting things around that we're going to show you how to make the big money in land development on this. So stay tuned for everything. All right, so in this video, we're going to talk about land development. And that can seem like a scary word. So to help you feel comfortable and safe, just hit the like button and subscribe and I'll make you comfortable, okay? Really, if you have some questions though, just type them out and I'll help you out. If I missed anything or you're confused about what I'm saying, just type them out in there. I love answering those questions. But really, there's 3 things that you're looking at with land development. There's first of all acquisition of the land, there's feasibility, and then there's actually development of the property. Okay, so that's what you're looking at, but you don't have to do all of those. At any phase of this is a profitable situation. Let's just break it down. Okay, let's start picking the land, okay, picking the property. First of all, there's got to be a reason you're picking this. Is something going towards that? Is something being built around it? Was there a big announcement that some company was moving there? Like, I don't know, make some Amazon or something like that. What's the reason that this property is going to be developed? This is super crucial, okay? Now, if a city planning department is going one direction and everybody else is going that direction, it'd be probably a good idea to do that. If the planning department wants to go a direction, but nobody seems to be doing that, don't do this. I've seen this before. Okay, the city, they're not good planners. Okay, capitalism works. Okay, so the capital is going to go where the profit is. And I've seen this in towns before where they want things to go one way and it doesn't work. Traffic's not there. The flow of the city's not working that way. And anybody that's done anything in that direction just ends up with vacant property. So be careful of that. So what I'm looking for when I'm looking at a piece of land, I'm looking at uses. What's the best use for this property right here? Okay, this property needs a Walmart or whatever the case is. That's kind of big on that, or it needs multifamily. A number of different things on that. Here's another one right now is power stations for charging all these EVs out there. I went to an auto show recently and there was a booth there of people that are looking for land to put power stations at. And they'll lease it from you, just like they were putting cell towers back in the 90s. It's paying $5,000 a month rent to put a cell tower on your property if it was located right. Okay, so I knew people back in the 90s that literally had GPS trackers out there and they knew exactly where the cell towers had to go, and they were gobbling up land in those areas so they could put those in there and rent them back to AT&T and whoever else was out there. Okay, so those are the types of things you're looking at when you're looking at a piece of property is, what could this thing be used for? Let it speak to you. I don't care what it's zoned. It could be zoned commercial, residential, agricultural, whatever the case is. What could it be used for? So as extreme as this is a busy corner and there needs to be a Dutch Brothers coffee there, to as this is in the middle of nowhere, but it's really close to a national park that has limited camping, and maybe I could put a campsite for the people there and take a little $10,000 5-acre parcel, kind of speaking from experience here, and turn it into 10 or 15 campsites in there that generate anywhere from $20,000 to $30,000 a year in revenue off a small little investment of $10,000 to $15,000. So that's what you really got to get out of the box on this, especially with all the movement online. You've got hipster camping to tiny homes, okay? All of this manufacturing is being built around tiny homes. I'm not quite there yet. Okay, what I mean by that is I've looked at a lot of the tiny home plans and what have you, And they're good, but the cost basis isn't exactly what I'm looking at. But what I love about it is there's a lot of money and a lot of energy being put into that. It's going to get there. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. I have a property fully improved. We ripped down the house on it. I should say the city did. I bought the lot. I only own it for $5,000. This is perfect for a small property on it. And so I'm contacting these people in there. And there's one in there, for $89,000. They'll put a 425 square foot house on there that literally has everything included except for the washer and dryer, like dishwasher, sinks, everything in there. So once I pour the foundation, get the electrical hooked up, they'll drop it in there. And in the morning, it'll be ready to live in that evening even. So it's kind of cool. Okay, but not a big enough square footage for that area. Again, $89,000 sounds attractive, but real estate market in that particular area and that size really doesn't justify that. So you have to look at where it's going. What I'm loving with these companies though is they're willing to finance it. So they said, okay, we'll put it up there. You put $8,000 down. We'll put the building up there. You make it happen. I make it happen. And I just pay them when I sell the property. So that's another aspect of it. So that's the looking at the property and seeing what it is. So when you see a property and you go, okay, this needs to happen. Now I need to check the temperature of the county. Find out how viable they are for development. Are they friendly development? Are they not friendly development? I've been in places where it took me 9 months to get any kind of a permit. And I've been in places where it took literally 2 weeks. 2 weeks and $3,500, and I had my permits. I was ready to go. It was like amazing. That's a very, very big factor in either a barrier or a launch pad for being very profitable in those areas. So I want to find out what's the county's attitude towards that, and what do I need to make this happen? Engineer reports, all of those. These are just people you hire that come in. So having a conversation with my daughter, we're driving, there's a development right near our house. We've been watching it go up. And she says, remember when we thought that was going to be a swimming pool? I said, yeah, it's called a retention pond. And she goes, what's a retention pond? And so all of a sudden I started going to this diatribe about that. And she's 8 years old at the time. She looks at me and she's, Daddy, I didn't need all that information. Okay, but that's what the engineers do. They go in there and they say, look, if we put these structures on here, something's going to happen with the water. Something's going to happen with the electricity. Can the infrastructure handle it locally? What are we going to need from the county? Okay, here's the other thing. There's money from the cities that will pay you to do this. So I'm working on a project right now where we're asking the city to put the infrastructure in. And so they're what they call an ad valorem. So they're going to give me each lot's they're giving me some money to develop these lots and get all the improvements in there. And what they do is they give me the money and then they put the ad valorem onto the property in the form of taxes that come back here. Well, isn't that interesting? Kind of full circle there. And understand what the county's willing to do on some of that stuff. Here's another thing. We're developing properties for assisted living, elderly assisted living on there. So I want to know, okay, what are the rules on that? So for instance, in California, we've been talking to some of the officials in California, and they literally are like, we are begging people to have more residential assisted living. Please. And literally, his comment to me was, close your eyes, wake up in the morning, we need 7 more. That's how desperate we are for those. That's kind of, okay, I like to hear that because I'm thinking to myself, they're going to be a lot more friendly on the regulations for that. So then I started looking at it going, wait a second, if I build a duplex with 6 units on each side, it'll be easier for the operator to operate the property. I own the land and lease it back to somebody else, right? In the real estate business. That's what you're looking at. So there's so many different ways you can look at this, but you've got to look at what's the temperature of the county. So now I'm going to get my engineering, environmental reports, all that stuff. So let's say that I find a 5-acre parcel that's ripe for some development on some single family residential property. All I do is get the impact report done, engineering report. I get the plans laid out of where the roads would go and everything. The county says, yes, we would do this. Okay. We would definitely let you do this. Now I've got now this piece of property just went way up in value because all of that's already done. I don't want to build all the houses necessarily. Maybe, maybe not. I go to a developer and I go, I've got a parcel. You can put 52 single family residential homes in. It's sitting over here. It's ready to go. The city's already given a green light. That's huge for them. They're in the business of building and selling homes, not developing a piece of land. So if somebody comes to them with it already developed, they're that much further ahead of the game. I know these guys, and it doesn't matter how small or big they are. The big guys have even got a bigger problem because they're building 4, 5, 600 homes. So they're constantly that's their business. They have to build homes. Okay, they continually are looking for land to make that happen. They're working with city and all that good stuff. If they hear you've already got something they can, you're golden. Okay, and so I want you to think about this aspect. I find a piece of property, doesn't have a structure on it. I don't have to do anything. All I have to do is file the right paperwork, hire the right engineers to get it to the point where it is buildable for somebody else and it increases that value. That's the name of the land development game. And I think you're going to love this. There's a lot going on here, and I get that. As you know, I've got training, so if you want to just hop on there, I've got some phenomenal training I've just put together on this. I think you're going to love it. It's higginsmethod.com, and I'll give you a free book that I just published. It's called America's Secret Investment Strategy. That's my gift to you. I want your family to be successful financially, and this is the best way I know how. Good luck and God bless.